Alright, I got a little bit of a painful story to read and comment on. We're talking about some discrimination due to dietary preferences. I refuse to hire someone because they're a vegan. I don't want to risk losing our office birthday cakes. So apparently some office culture of celebrating birthdays with birthday cakes, obviously not a vegan product. Also, I routinely commit wage theft. Am I an asshole? Well, certainly the wage theft, yes. For the birthday cakes and the vegan, I wouldn't say asshole, but I think you're being naive and thinking that you're benefiting yourself and anybody else by refusing to hire somebody who's vegan. But let's read the story. Obligatory throwaway due to the nature of the post, obviously. So I have a small company, 25 employees. So perhaps the equal opportunity might not kick in. I think you need 50 employees for some of that, some of the protections to kick in, but that's another story. We currently have about 5 available positions. We found a girl who we thought would be great for the job. She was a little less experienced than we liked, but she has a strong resume. Okay. First interview went great. Everything seemed fine. And then the second interview, we saw a red flag. We asked her what she used Instagram for, which she followed, and why. There's a little bit of a mistake. I try to keep social media out of job interviews, but okay, let's go on. Apparently, my assistant recognized immediately that one of them was a vegan, Paige. So they recognized that she was a vegan. And now it gets into what the concern was. First off, I like for us as a company to gather outside the office and hang out as we can, which is great. Hanging out doesn't have to always involve food, right? Typically, we do so at places that serve meat. Let me comment on that a little bit. I like to go out with my coworkers to places where I can't necessarily find suitable food. I have dietary restrictions. I have high-functioning autism that I control with my diet. And I'll typically sit down and hang out with them and chat with them. And unfortunately, people like to pick up that I'm not eating. It doesn't bother me, but it bothers other people for some reason. People also like to bake and eat birthday cakes. I enjoy looking at them. I typically won't eat them. Very rarely do I see a birthday cake that works for me. But I do enjoy the thought of it and the artwork. Okay, it would just destroy our office culture. Let me translate that a little bit. The idea that somebody else isn't eating, even if they're participating in your office meetups, destroys your thought of culture. Let me just translate that sentence for you guys. To have to change everything and accommodate one person. No, that one person who's not eating, you have to accommodate your eyes to see that, and that bothers you for whatever reason, right? Who hasn't even put effort into this company? Even if she did go, she'd ruin the atmosphere, i.e. your eyes and your thought of the world completely. Also, my younger sister is a vegan, and she and her friends are a mess. They constantly pressure others in the worst way. Not every vegan pressures other people to be vegan. I certainly don't pressure other people to eat the way that I do. But other people seem to pressure me, saying how they don't use the words, but they think that they're bothered by how I eat. Despite this, she somehow made it to the third interview. I was in the interview and I brought up the Instagram places she mentioned, and I asked if she was a vegan. She said yes. Asking somebody if they're a vegan seems a little bit fishy, right? It's almost like asking somebody their religion or their disability status. I'm not sure if that would fly in a lot of job interviews, but so I carried on with the interview, told her I'd be in touch in 2 weeks, and left the call. I then waited the full 2 weeks so not to seem suspicious. So obviously this person had reservations on whether this is a sane thing to do, and had my assistant send her the rejection letter. She apparently asked for notes, and my assistant told her that we were concerned that her lifestyle choices would get in the way of our business culture. She claimed discrimination. I would too. And my assistant apologized, saying that we no longer wanted contact, and blocked her email. Okay, a couple of things here. why are you bothered by what somebody else is eating, right? This almost seems like many years ago when unconventional couples, right, or people who opt out of relationships altogether bother you for whatever reason, right? Especially if they can join in. There was no indication that this person was going to force their vegan way onto other people, right? I would have left it. The one mistake that this candidate made was to confess that she was a vegan, right? I would have refused to answer the question when asked if I was a vegan. Thanks for being interested in my Instagram. This is a personal matter, right? I appreciate your culture. I join in on things even if the food doesn't match what I eat. I would have left it at that. But why do even though she answered it, why does it bother other people? Right? Why are you bothered by what I eat? And I want to mention that there's life outside of food. So earlier tonight, I'm recording this on a Friday, just the Friday night just before Valentine's Day. I went to see 2 movies. I went to see Jackass, and I went to see after that I went to see Moonfall. Now, I'm a little bit disappointed about Moonfall because there were some scientific inaccuracies in that movie. But so be it. It was an inspiration for some of the AI that I'm going to be doing. Now, I want to mention that 10, 12 years ago, going to see those 2 movies would have been very challenging for me for 2 reasons. I used to have a difficult time accepting that one can go out without a partner. And second of all, I used to have a hard time. A lot of movie theaters frown upon bringing outside food into the theaters. I'm not sure if they still enforce that anymore these days because a lot of people are nervous about eating out. But I have dietary restrictions. There isn't very many things in the movie theaters that are suitable. And so I often would sneak food in there, or I make up excuses on why I needed to bring outside food. And I hated it. I mean, for one thing, I really hate having to explain to people that I have dietary restrictions and can I bring outside food in there, even when people let me do it. It just feels like I'm gaming the system in some way, right? I also just hate to be sneaky about things, especially because when I go to the movies, I like to be social about it, and to have to bend rules or to ask for favors just doesn't float my boat about social life. And but ever since I've gotten over the idea of eating, there's life outside of food is how I like to put it, right? There's life outside of having a partner. There's nothing wrong with food. There's nothing wrong with having a partner. It's just that there is life outside of it, right? That's what I wanted to point out. Now, what do I think is the solution for this? Well, the knee-jerk reaction to some people who are upset about this, rightfully so, the knee-jerk reaction is that we should just make dietary preference a protected class, just like religion or disability, even though dietary preference probably borders very strongly on some of those, right? We could just make dietary preference one of those protected characteristics. I think that's a very hollow solution, though. I think an even better idea, and this one would probably upset a lot of my viewers if they're not libertarian, is we should get rid of all the protected characteristics. Now, why do I say that? Because if it's not protected, people can openly talk about it, right? You're not hired because you're black. You're not hired because you have autism. And why do I want people to be open about this? Because then there could be a candid discussion on whether or not that's even a good idea, right? Just like how I just discussed on how there's life outside of food, right? If it were legal to tell somebody they're not hired because of their race, we could have an open, candid discussion on whether or not that serves the business any well, right? And chances are it's not.